welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. In today's video, well guys, it's the very last summer themed video. We're going to be using this napkin ring holder. This is a beautiful mould from Moulds and Shapes. Of course, all of the details will be down below with your 10% discount code on any Moulds and Shapes molds. But guys, very last summer video because we are moving on to autumn. My plan was to stack them up. Instead of just making one single ring, I'm going to make multiple rings and stack. With this in mind, I was thinking tea light holder. I was thinking summer ocean themed tea light holder, maybe 4 or 5 rings all stacked up together to create a beautiful beach scene. That was the plan. Now we're going to be doing this in layers, like I said. First layer being sand, second layer being the seashells in a beautiful clear resin. Now, the sand I have here is aquatic sand for your fish tanks. It is from Amazon. I will link it below. It is honestly beautiful. As soon as you add epoxy resin to it, it doesn't get darker. It stays the same exact pale, beautiful tropical sand shade. And that's why I'm loving it. And I think a huge bag cost me about £2.80, £3, no more than £3. And this is going to last me many years of working with epoxy resin, unless I do a huge table beach or something like that. It was fiddly. The static on this day was real. Like sometimes when you're pouring epoxy resin, if you are here and you are new to epoxy resin, sometimes you'll experience static. You go to pour your resin, but it's almost like the air takes it away and it splashes it everywhere. If you've experienced it, you'll know what I mean. But I was experiencing a lot of static on this day. I don't know if it was weather related or what it was, but everything took a long time. I ended up using a wooden lollipop stick to be able to just, slowly drop my sandy resin down and in. But when it came to pouring the resin, the static got even worse, but it's all good. It all worked out in the end. So my thoughts were, the base of this tea light holder is going to be sand. The next layer is going to be clear ocean. The next layer may have some seashells, and the next layer may have some waves, and so on. I was going to literally just layer. So in this first section, we're doing 4 sandy bottoms for the bottom of the ocean. And the next one here is going to be the clear layer, in which I'm going to be putting some seashells. A lot of this footage has been sped up because I don't want to send you guys to sleep. And trust me when I tell you, I was going so slowly in some areas of creating these. So the next layer, like I said, is the clear epoxy resin for the seashells. I have sped this section up for you as well. The seashells I've bought are from Amazon. I got a beautiful big box of these itty bitty teeny tiny seashells. But yeah, as long as they fit in here now, these napkin ring holders they're a gorgeous shape and size, but they're quite narrow. So just making sure that I choose the shells that I know are going to fit fully down the sides. I don't want any that are too big, and I don't want any of my seashells to protrude out of the top. One thing I did do here is I did put down some starfish. So if you've been with me a while, I've been using these starfish and they're quite fragile and they're all broken in places. But I had 2 starfish that just had a bit of a leg chopped off. So what I did was I turned them around so that the nice bit was down and in the napkin holder ring part. And then I knew that once that had cured, I could just snap the broken bit that was already broken. I could just snap it off. So I wasn't out here deliberately breaking starfish. I was simply using what I had. Now I don't have gloves on. Always wear gloves with epoxy resin. In this moment, I'm done. I'm not pouring any more resin. I'm not touching any more resin. All I'm doing here is dropping some glitter down onto wet resin in the hopes that whatever sticks, sticks, and then I'll brush off the rest tomorrow, 24 hours later. So yes, at this point, to be able to handle my glitter packages and the plastic spoons, I did take my gloves off for this, but I'm not touching any epoxy resin now. I'm going to walk out the room, leave it, and come back 24 hours later. 24 hours later, it's time to clean up because wow, what a mess I made. Whatever the glitter I dropped down, of course, not all of it went in. I didn't really want complete glitter coverage, but I'm just cleaning up now. I'm using some packing tape. You can also see here that I have demolded the sandy bottoms and they came out gorgeous. So they're just sitting to one side and then I'll be able to fill the rest of this tray up. Now, the static, honestly, the static on this day was wild. Again, this was the next day, but I don't know if it's because it's a brand new mold that I've never used before, but trying to pour the epoxy resin from this little cup was not it. You could see on the screen, it was literally flying everywhere. So using these pipettes truly is it's just a little baby lifesaver. Like, it just helps so much to have this tool to be able to go much closer to the mold and just pipe your epoxy resin down in. I haven't got much room to play with at this point, that's the thing. I've only left myself about 1 millimeter at the top, so I haven't got much room to play with, and the pipette just helps so much. I've used a dark blue alcohol ink in this layer to, of course, make the epoxy resin blue. And yeah, I'll speed this section up for you because no one needs to sit through this in real time. A lot of this video was like repetitive actions, and I always worry about that because I don't want to cut anything out, but I don't want to show every single gritty little detail because you're going to be at home like, Claire, you're on number 4, you're on number 5 of exactly the same thing. Using exactly the same epoxy resin with the dark blue alcohol ink, I then filled up the rest of the medallions. At this point, I still had it in my brain. I was going to create multiple layers and make these into some kind of oceanic tea light holder or something along those lines. Whilst they were curing, as you know, I demolded the sandy bottoms. I'm cleaning up the sandy bottoms because wow, the mess was real. Dropping the sand in was a little bit tricky. I did take my time, but of course we got spill out and that's okay. It's all part of it. I'm using my deburring tool to clean up all around the edges, the inside edges. These edges are sharp on a good day, but add sand into the mix and wow, they are weapons, guys. It's unreal how much more sharp they become if sand is involved. I can't explain it, but yeah. So just using the deburring tool, wrapping it around in there, getting it all completely cleaned out, ready to be stacked up, layered up, glued up with all of the other layers that I'm going to make at this point. So this is what it looks like. The one on the left obviously needs to be cleared as well. So I did the same thing to all 4. I won't take you with me on that journey because it was a lot. And then the next day, I changed my mind yet again. It was just one of those weeks, guys. It was one of those weeks. I changed my mind again. I decided that I am not creating 4, 5, 6, 7 layers. I can't do it. I think I was over it by day 3. So I was going to individually glue each and every one of these napkin rings to themselves, like to each other. I was going to make them all individually, demold them all, and then individually glue them all together in a stack. But I figured this route has to be the easier route right now for me, is to stack them within the mold. So my plan here was, we'll do another layer. We'll do an ocean layer that's going to be sitting next to the seashell layer. And we're going to just leave enough room at the top to sit another one down in. So, oh God, these are so beautiful. So beautiful. We're going to leave enough room here at the top. You can see there's about a millimeter, half a millimeter maybe, left in the top to sit those shell layers back in, giving me a much better glue up. You know, I figured this would be the way forward. I should have thought of this in the beginning, but I didn't. I could have done it again with a sandy layer and stuck them all down on the sandy layer, but I didn't because the thought of starting again was not it. That was not it. I was just not gonna do it. Okay, so to glue them up again, real simple. A super thin layer of epoxy resin. You could use super glue at this point, but I figured no, we might as well stick to the epoxy, making sure that they 100% stick together and the glue doesn't default somewhere along the line. Super thin layer of epoxy resin down on top of the blue ocean section. And once that is down, we're going to press our seashell layers in. And I left enough of a lip to hold it, to encase the next one. So here you go. Just pushing them in, real simple. There's enough of a layer there to make sure that I've not only aligned it with the layer underneath, but it's going to hold it. It's going to give it a little bit of a hug and hold it in place while they cure. Now, I did get some help from a ruler and some heavy, weighty epoxy resin bottles. Once I had all of these down in place and I was happy with where they were, I did put my metal ruler across the surface of all four, and I placed some heavy bottles down on top of that ruler just to make sure they're super stuck. Now 24 hours later, this is what we're looking like. Again, messy, so messy, but also so pretty. I knew at this point, guys, we're gonna have to sand. We are going to have to sand these back for a long time. But you know what? I was enjoying this process. As soon as I'd made the decision that these are not going to be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, getting wild with these layers and not really having direction. As soon as I made the decision, these are going to be a 3-layered napkin ring holder with a sandy bottom, a clear ocean center, and shells at the top. I was so much happier. So much happier. And it was only really then I began to enjoy. So then it was time to completely stick them together and finish them. Now, the thing is, if I hadn't have already done the sandy layer, I could have done exactly the same thing again in the mold. Put the sand resin in the mold, with a gap at the top, and then place the blue section down into the mold again. So you could build them up that way. And I think that would be such an easier way to do it as well, because you've got the support of the mold holding everything in place. But yeah, time to get these glued up. We are going flat base of the blue to the flat base of the sand, and that is just going to make things so much easier, she says. Same system again, using a micro brush just to drop some of that epoxy resin down onto the sandy base. And same thing for all four. I'm very aware this video is a little bit longer than my normal videos, so I don't want to bore you guys too much. And I know some of you do prefer longer videos, but again, just putting on enough resin that is gonna, stick them both together, but equally, you don't want to put on too little because then you might get big air chunks in the side as well. I think I would rather put on a bit too much and have the resin drip out than not put on enough and then have to fill cracks. I hope that makes sense. But this is the system I did. I've basically layered them on top of each other. Now I do babysit this to make sure that they all stay in place. I've put my metal ruler across all four, and then I'm basically weighing it down thanks to craft resin. I need to use you guys in a video soon because it's been a while. My huge bottles of craft resin are really quite heavy, so they are going to sit down on top of the ruler, pinning these down in place. Multiple ways of doing this, guys. You could use clamps, you could use all of it. So what I'm doing here, I'm just showing you the angle, but I'm showing you how I'm kind of keeping an eye that none of them are slipping away from the sandy base and that they all stay intact. I was so happy at this point that I decided to stick with just the 3 layers, guys. Can you imagine me doing 5, 6, 7 layers? Oh my goodness, no, where do I get these ideas from? So 3 layers, we've got beautiful, hunky, chunky napkin ring holders. Now I'm going to be using the wet dry sandpaper. This is from B&Q, and I'm starting with the 240 grit, and now we sand. And guys, we cry and then we sand some more because wow, this took a long time. I would say Most people who want to do a good job would probably spend at least an hour or 2 hours sanding these down, sanding through the grits. I spent about 30 minutes on all four. I I think my motto is not only handmade with love, not perfection, but it's also like good enough. Not perfect, but it's good enough, you know? And that's, I think I live by that because I'm lazy. I did cut up some of the 240 grit just to give me a strip to be able to do the inside of the napkin holder as well. Don't neglect the insides, because the insides were just as gnarly and like scratched up, like, you know, prickly and sharp as the outside. So just making sure that the inside gets the same treatment, that everything just comes out super tactile and really, really smooth. Now, again, I didn't spend too long. I spent about 30 minutes doing all four of these napkin holders, front, back, side, top, bottom, inside, you name it. I sanded it. And having this wet dry sandpaper, again, this was from B&Q, having a big sheet of this on your desk where you can just use loads of water, it makes it so easy. Of course, halfway through this, I had a delivery. This is about 2 weeks old. I had a delivery of the Let's Resin brand new sanding machine that, yeah, I could have used that for this, guys. It would have been absolutely perfect. But it was too late. I was already like mid-hand sanding and cursing the postman for not bringing it earlier. So yeah, one eternity later, this is what we're looking like. Now, at this point, I really wanted to do a Daniel Cooper. Like, I wanted to do what he does, but I don't have all of that. I don't have the tools. I don't have the resin. And like dip, you know, like, stick a stick on the bottom and then just dip it in resin to give it this absolutely stunning coat. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna rub coat. Okay, we are pouring on some UV resin, and with a gloved hand, which is most important, guys, a gloved hand, we're simply going to give all of these a rub coat, and then they're going to go under the UV light for upwards of 10 minutes. Like, they can have forever under there as far as I'm concerned. I want to make sure that absolutely every area of this is fully cured. Now, you can of course still see some of the lines between these pieces, which you naturally will because they are made of different things, and that didn't bother me too much. For me, it was all about the size. I wanted a big hunky chunk of a napkin ring, and I just wanted it to look pretty. So it doesn't look shabby, guys. It really doesn't look too shabby. So again, gloved hand, UV resin, rubbing it all over, making sure that it's fully coated. And it was at this point I thought, it's not going to work. Like, the mess I'm making is too much. I decided instead of using the Let's Resin portable UV light, it was just going to be so much easier and cleaner if I use the double-sided. So again, gloved hand, rubbing these all over. I've got some protective plastic laying down over the perspex that goes into the double-sided. And just, yeah, giving them a rub all over with the UV resin. Now, I didn't know if I would need to give these more than one coat. So like, you know, rub them and then cure them and then put another rub coat on. I really wasn't sure what to expect, but I figured we'd have a look and see. So at this point, I've rubbed all four of them. They're laying down on the plastic, ready to go under the light. But I figured I would give them all a beautiful domed top. You know, it's like laying down a glass cabochon onto an image. It actually magnifies that image, and I was hoping it would magnify the shells, and it did such a good job. I figured if it goes down the sides, it goes down the sides. If it goes down the center, it goes down the center. But guys, look at these. I'm actually so proud, and I'm so happy that I persevered. Is it worth it? I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever do this again. I mean, it was days and days and days of backwards and forwards and trials and is this the right direction? And am I sure this is even going to be worth it in the end? There was a lot of that. I felt a lot of that throughout this whole thing. Don't get me wrong. I cursed the air a few times. But I think they're super cute. Now, imagine these with like sandy colour napkins. at a summer beach picnic or a barbecue. I think they're gorgeous. You can really see that domed top as well. But of course, it's not going to end there. We've not ended there. Sadly, that's not the end. But I am going to speed through this because you do not need to sit through this in real time. We need to sand the bottoms. Of course, we sat these on the plastic. We coated the whole thing in UV resin and then sat them down on some plastic. Well, naturally that UV resin is going to create issues at the bottom of these then. So it was a whole cleanup, not so long, but just the bottoms. It was just the bottoms, getting their little trim, and we're done. We are done. They're so pretty. I love them. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. If you've watched this far, thank you so much. It's a very long video. It's 22 minutes long, longer than my normal videos, but it took a few days to make this one. Needless, really. I could have just made one and had it done in a day. Anyway, I hope you feel inspired in whichever way this video inspires you, whether it's to try it with something completely different or whether it's to just never try it at all. At least you've been inspired. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video, which, don't forget, will be my very first autumn video of 2025. Guys, the leaves are falling from the trees. The leaves are falling, okay? And my Wellington boots are swishing through the beautiful dry leaves. So don't come for me, all right? It's happening. This is not my fault. See you in the next video. Bye.